Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I was so looking forward to this all week. Just being cooped up and not seeing many faces beyond the mirror. And so, that being said, I'm so thrilled to introduce Born to Be Public, my memoir, which is going to be out on August 25th. And it's basically it's a snapshot from my life from 18 to about 25, and it chronicles growing up in New Jersey, closeted with Polish immigrant parents, to discovering the world of New York City nightlife and living a double life as a active participant in that nightlife scene and being a student at Hofstra University, which is about 25 to 30 minutes east in Long Island. And it follows that trajectory from that to finding a space for myself in the writing and comedy world. And I'm going to read an excerpt from a chapter that sort of details the time that I accidentally became a go-go dancer. Kind of accidentally, not really. This was this is my senior year at Hofstra, and every Monday night, my friends and I threw this party called Magic Monday in the Lower East Side, and then our friend went on tour, and he's the one that hosted the party, and he performed at it every week. So we were left with nothing to do on Monday nights. So we decided to find our new home at a place called Nurse Betty, and it's a burlesque bar. And we started hanging out there. And one night I had one too many a whiskey ginger, and I got on the stage as a joke. And it sort of became an inside joke called Casual Go-Go with Greg Mania. And then we just ended up doing it every Monday night for like a few months. And I will read an excerpt about some of those Monday nights right now from a chapter called Casual Go-Go. And there are pictures. Okay. I would arrive at Betty around 10 to have a drink and do some homework at the bar that I was due the following day, because I'm a serious academic. Showtime was at midnight. I had 2 hours to get my work done and get buzzed enough to go up there and do my thing. For the most part, the crowd consists of the usual suspects, friends roaming the Lower East Side, but sometimes we get straight-laced Wall Street-looking types looking to have a martini after a long day of shouting about hedge funds into their Bluetooths before going home to watch Bloomberg TV. These guys would meander in on a Monday night and end up seeing this. So this is typically what I dress like back in 2013 in the Lower East Side. So it was less like Hell's Kitchen gay boy go-go dancing and more Dita Von Teese burlesque inspired. So these guys were usually the ones who were the first to leave, which was fine because we didn't really care to mingle with a bunch of guys who consider their affinity for IPA a personality trait. Also, the best thing about being a go-go dancer, you don't have to talk to anyone. Here's the thing. I have, and I shit you not, terrible hearing. I'm going to need miracle ear by the time I'm 30. When I was little, I would listen to music so loudly through headphones that it permanently damaged my hearing. Seriously. Whenever my roommates used the TV after me, they looked at that famous poster of that dude being blown away by his TV set because I've been watching Law & Order SVU at fucking volume 98 with closed captioning. And it didn't help that I was surrounded by reverberating club music multiple nights a week. I never know what anyone's saying to me at the club. I always just nod and say cool to everything. My friend Gina refuses to go anywhere with me that isn't a library because she's sick of repeating herself 3,000 fucking times because I can't hear what she's saying to me whenever we're at a bar or a club. Also, I hate hosting. I could never be an actual promoter. A lot of people in nightlife make their living this way. They work at night, sleep all day, and do it all over again. I, on the other hand, was a student by day, so having this type of schedule, as many nightlifers do, was out of the question if I was ever going to go to class and get the degree I was hemorrhaging money for. Also, I can't hear you, ever. So go-go dancing it was, because not only did I have to talk to anyone and pretend that I could catch a single fucking word if they were saying to me, I also got tipped. Granted, I was tipped mostly by friends. When Breedlove, that was a friend that left to go on tour and then came back home. When he stopped by Nurse Betty one Monday night, he taught me to slip some dollar bills under my garter tights or whatever ridiculous piece of clothing I was performing in before I'd even go on stage. He learned this from our friend Lady Starlight, who's also a go-go dancer for many years. And he passed this wisdom down onto me. Slipping a few of your own bills into your clothing will incline people to tip if they see some cash hanging somewhere on your person already. I didn't make a ton of money, but I made enough to cover minor expenses and maybe buy a bite to eat from the McDonald's across the street after, which, for a student budget, is like winning the Powerball. We found a routine again every Monday night. It was glamorous, and it was all ours. Our little space on Norfolk Street was our new home. Now, whenever a song like Heart of Glass, Young Americans, I Want You to Want Me, or Joan Jett's I Hate Myself for Loving You comes on when I'm listening to music, I'm instantly transported back to the spring of 2013 and the faces I would see from my platform. The faces that would flash before my eyes like a reel. I'd be in my own little world, above everyone, watching all my friends make out, cry, laugh, and drink until they couldn't see straight anymore. I knew those days wouldn't last forever, but sometimes I wish they did. When I tell people I used to go-go dance, they sometimes ask me if I'd ever do it again. I say if I didn't have a bedtime at 8 and wasn't prone to pulling a muscle just by coughing, I would. But I had fun while it lasted. I performed my last casual go-go routine in May of 2013 when I graduated from Hofstra. I moved back to New Jersey to live with my parents and decided to celebrate graduation by performing one last striptease with my graduation gown as a final routine. Dollhouse, which is the name of our party, would soon leave its location on Norfolk Street and would marry itself to Magic Monday now that our friend Breedlove is back in town. The summer after graduation, I got an internship at Cream magazine. My first piece was an interview with an up-and-coming singer-songwriter, my first byline in print shortly to follow. I also developed an interest in pursuing comedy writing professionally. I had options and opportunities, and it was up to me to figure out which path to follow. But just because I wanted to doesn't mean I knew how to. Before I could take the next step, I found myself in a situation where I had to get back on my feet first. So I'll leave it on that cliffhanger to see what would happen next. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So I'll be reading from my book, Vagabond, which is it comes out in a few weeks, and it's about a government lawyer named Prue who wants to be a rapper. And in the beginning of the book, she goes off of her antidepressants, quits law, and starts making music, and has what I think is a glamorous downward spiral. In this scene, she's driving to her psychiatrist's office to get Adderall that she plans to take recreationally. Okay. As I curve onto the 10, someone is honking at me. Someone is always honking at you on the freeway in Los Angeles. I think about Clueless, that scene where Cher and Dee accidentally end up on the freeway and start screaming. The 10 straightens out, and there must be like 10 lanes. Concrete walls on both sides. The palm trees that hang over look dry, dirty, flammable. Massive hunks of metal zoom by in every direction. My palms sweat on the wheel. I turn up the air conditioning and pull my face towards it, then wipe my hands on my pants. A car cuts in front of me. Traffic slows down, and I roll behind a Jeep with a bumper sticker that says, "Beware of driver." I swallow. My phone shakes in my hand. I open my Insight Timer app and click SOS meditation for panic. As traffic moves, I press the gas and wonder if I really know how to drive. The woman's voice comes on, soft and breathy. "You may be feeling very anxious right now, but that is normal given your circumstances." Why, I wonder, is it normal for me to be anxious under these circumstances? I'm just driving to my psychiatrist to get more pills to feel the best I possibly can. I'm not in a war zone. I'm not about to take the bar exam or perform surgery. You may feel very scared right now, but that is only a feeling. Try not to fight it. Instead, just notice. I notice and realize I'm freaking the fuck out. I need to get off this freeway, but I can't. I have to get through this. I'm just driving across town. I'm 30 years old. I need my medicine. I'm about to be a celebrity, and I can't be having this kind of anxiety right now. I remind myself that I've driven across the country 3 times. I can do this. Notice the air coming in and out of your nose. I notice the air, but I'm convinced I'm not breathing. My phone says I'll be at Dr. Kim's in 15 minutes. It'll take me longer to get home, so I may as well stick it out. Then I wonder if maybe this isn't a panic attack. Maybe it's a reaction to the Vyvanse, an allergic reaction that requires actual medical intervention. Maybe the pills were laced with fentanyl. A car honks and I press the gas very lightly. Listen to the sounds around you. Feel supported by the earth under your sit bones. The phrase sit bones always weirds me out. I don't feel supported by the earth. The earth is spinning in space. How could I possibly feel supported by this rock that might explode at any moment or get hit by another rock? The earth under my sit bones is probably a fucking fault line. It could start shaking and I could fall into a sinkhole and burn alive in the earth's core. I shift my focus to the sounds, but all I hear are strident horns and ignitions rumbling. A motorcycle zooms past my window. Traffic starts to speed up and I relax for a brief moment. I eye my phone, only a few minutes away. The panic is fading. I feel silly and shut off the meditation and turn on K-Day. Then I look at all the lanes and cars between me and the exit, and the panic creeps back. I watch a hawk swoop into a tree, hungry for something. I focus on the road, but it reflects the sun and burns my eyes. Focus on your breath, I yell at myself. When I get out of the car, I feel weak. I wipe sweaty hands on my jeans and pull my sunglasses close to my face. The sun is too bright. Everyone on the street looks like an avatar. I feel like I'm in a video game. I don't trust this neighborhood at all. It is too sterile. Dr. Kim's office is at the top of a tall and soulless building. Inside the elevator, I have a strong urge to sit down. In the waiting room, I stare at a Rolling Stone cover from 2 years ago and cross and uncross my legs several times. I wonder if I died on the freeway, and this is hell. Prudence, Dr. Kim is in the doorway, standing rigidly. I want to run. I want to go home and crawl into my bed and never get up. But to do that, I'd have to get on the freeway, which I don't think I can ever do again. Maybe I can order a helicopter. Hi, I say. My voice sounds calm, betraying me. As I enter the office, I try not to look out of the massive windows that glow neon yellow. I almost instinctively walk over to close the blinds, but that would be weird, so instead I sit down. I look at Dr. Kim, who's already seated across from me, looking tired and sad. I wonder what's going on with him. Does he have a newborn, a book proposal due, a second family? He appears to be under some major stress, and for some reason that calms me down a bit. How are you, he asks. I'm great, I say. My chest tightens, as though my body is calling bullshit. I swallow. I haven't really noticed any major difference from going off this Alexa. Dr. Kim nods vaguely. Good, he said, just seeming to put together right now that he prescribed me Celexa for 3 years. Then he begins firing off his standard questions, seeming to read them from a clipboard in his lap. Exercise? Still hiking, I say. Okay, pacing. He doesn't need to know that. Sleep okay? Yep, I love sleep. I wish I was in my bed right now. Still with your girlfriend? We broke up, I say, but it's fine. It was mutual. A white lie. Being single is much better for me professionally. He looks at me a little confused, and I decide to elaborate. I've been having a major creative renaissance. I fumble over the phrasing, then remember it doesn't matter. I'm here for business. I've joined I don't want to say rap group because that makes me sound like a 90s teen with disciplinary issues, but band just sounds so lame. I started a musical project with a few others, a talented producer and singer, and we made a track that did quite well. We got a record deal, and we've been working very hard to finish the EP. How's your law practice? Dr. Kim interrupts. I'm shocked, given that until this moment, he didn't seem to entirely know who I was. I switch gears, imagine he's my father. The advance from the record company was substantial enough that I was able to take a hiatus, I say. I'll request more cases whenever money gets low, but I assume we'll be able to tour soon, which is when the money really starts flowing. I have no idea what I'm saying. We've never performed, and I recall those panic attacks I got on stage as a child, and I think about the drive home, and I think about maybe asking Dr. Kim to take me to a hospital. I look up at Dr. Kim, and his expression is hard to read. No dark moods, no bipolar episodes. No dark moods, I say. I try to focus on my breath, but my diaphragm feels like it's made of metal. Wait, bipolar? I've never been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Dr. Kim shakes his head. Sorry, it's a turn of phrase. Turn of phrase? I wonder whether Dr. Kim's a quack. My patients are always coming back furious, like, you called me bipolar, or something along those lines. He laughs, and I just stare at him. See, there are varying degrees of bipolar. There's bipolar 1, which is the type of crazy person you see screaming on the street. I nod, thinking this is kind of insensitive, but I can tell Dr. Kim is going into lecture mode, and it comforts me, makes me feel like I'm back at school, where everything was easy and I was a star. Then there's bipolar 2, and a lot of successful people have this diagnosis. It's associated with high intelligence and creativity. I perk up a bit. It's also associated with inflated self-esteem. He pauses and looks toward me, narrowly missing eye contact in a way that makes me positive he's an avatar. I'm not going to say that everyone who tries to be an actor is bipolar too, but it's common out here. Like you're from middle America and you're good looking and you decide to come to LA and make it as a star. Well, there are a lot of good looking people out here. To think you're going to be the next Jennifer Lawrence, I don't know. It involves a degree of, well, never mind. I'm getting off track. My body feels hot and tingly. I examine the freckles on my arms and wonder whether they belong to me. Then there's bipolar 3, which is not really a diagnosis. It's more of an idea. It's a useful framework for explaining moods. He runs his fingers through his hair. Anyway, what was the Adderall dosage you wanted? 10 milligrams, I say, thrilled to have a concrete question to focus on instead of my finicky breath. I spent the morning Googling and reading about various dosages. A person can be prescribed up to 60 milligrams a day, so popping a few 10s a night shouldn't cause any issues. In fact, it's reasonable and moderate. Okay, says Dr. Kim, I can start out with 30 pills. My heart starts racing just thinking about it. Dr. Kim starts writing the prescription, and in the silence, I hear my shallow breath, and I remember that I'm about to get back on the freeway. I should just ask him if he has any benzo samples. I'm sure that he does, and that would solve my problem. Just take a benzo and cruise home. But I can't bring myself to ask him, and soon he's shaking my hand goodbye. Thank you.
So hi, I'm Miah Jeffra, and I'm going to read a short essay from my newest collection, The Fabulous, Ekphrastic, Fantastic, which came out during the pandemic. So it takes on a whole new sheen. This is called To an Ex-Lover, After a Natural History of the Senses, which, by the way, I encourage anyone to read for inspiration for writing. When I was 16, I saw an alien. True story. My mama and I were watching television in our narrow, low-rent Baltimore row house when we heard our dog barking with a particular urgency. Mama asked me to go investigate. I walked to the back, flipped the floodlight switch, and opened the door. And there, at the end of our narrow, concrete sliver of a yard, was Egg Roll, looking up at a chest-high figure with an oblong, luminescent face and large black eyes, staring directly at my smaller-than-average, teenage, presently and keenly vulnerable self. And immediately, without even a flash of hesitation, I shit my pants. A small yet substantial, perfectly compacted brown nugget, bullets from my butt cheeks like a backfired slingshot. I could feel the velocity of that single turd shoot against the lining of my polycotton Voltron pajama bottoms, the betrayal of years of self-control, the pastel illustrations of Once Upon a Potty flashing into my mind's eye as I waddled back to my mother with a face whiter than Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter, wearing an eggshell bikini on a foggy day in a salt mine. Vision is a tricky enterprise. All we truly perceive are configurations of shadows and light. True story. 127 million photoreceptors detect light stimulus, a chemical, then become electrical impulse along the optic nerve to the brain, the mind, an open file without a name. And from this, we begin to make sense of our world. My niece, at 9 months, beginning to crawl. One day I watched her amble directly into a piece of furniture head first. She thrusted with determined hands and knees, without hesitation, right into my sister's backless Wayfair bar stool. Did little Mackenzie not see the metal legs? Why did she careen right into that pain, that boo-boo on her forehead? It appeared as if she hadn't seen the stool at all. Shadows and light, chemical, electrical impulse, and open file. And then my sister, Mommy, to the rescue. She said, chair, baby stare. Chair, baby stare. Chair, baby stare. Now, the open file has a name, language, a label, the sign. Neurolinguist Richard Gregory argues that seeing is entirely hypothesis, reliant on experience and memory. We encounter a particular configuration of shadows and light, and that configuration is then matched to the closest file we have in our database. Your brain is a file clerk searching for the match. That closest match is then pulled up and projected onto our mind's silver screen. And that is what we see. Not what we perceive, but what we see. Everyone knows a filing system is unsuccessful without explicit labeling. Labels are language. In essence, language becomes more our eyes than our eyes. Do you know the story of the Aztec genocide? The great advanced civilization that initially and fatally opened its arms to Cortez's swords. They had a myth. The god of rebirth, Quetzalcoatl, promised to return one day from the east on a bed of clouds to bestow upon the Aztecs the fortunes, the white hot heart of the morning star. And then one day, in the dead middle of a millennium, upon the horizon, fishermen saw what they believed to be, approaching from the east in billowing white, the promises of that morning star. See, the Aztecs were not seafarers, and the billowing sails of Cortez's ships, well, the Aztecs didn't have a file for that, and those sails wound up becoming a different kind of promise. And this is how you perceived me, a promise, a myth. I wonder what the story was that beget your creation of me. But I was not seen, that is certain. You were searching for a match. The language of the story you knew before you never knew me projected onto your mind's silver screen before I even approached. And the Hollywood dream you thought you saw was all light and shadow along the walls of a cave. And so you opened your heart as if you hadn't even seen that I was only strong enough to conquer, not love. And you careened right into that pain. And I am sorry for that. If you hadn't figured it out yet, I didn't really see an alien. I saw a possum on our back fence. The floodlight wasn't strong enough to pick up the chain link at all, but it could reflect the rodent's iridescent fur on the top of its head, pointed down to keep a watchful eye on the threatening stance of my vicious Shih Tzu mix. The pose in illumination suggested the shape of that most common of mediated aliens, the bulbous head and sunken long face. My hypothesis was dead wrong. I didn't have a file in my database for something as odd as a possum on a fence in an inner city Baltimore neighborhood. And of course, what were my mama and I watching in the living room before the encounter? Mulder and Scully, forever engrossed in their sexually frustrated tete-a-tetes between science and magic. But in my mind's eye, in my memory, I still see that 4-foot alien staring directly into my being as clear now as it was then, crystal enough to make me drop a stink pickle in my drawers. When you don't collect much data, you don't have much in your database. Recently, after watching a performance on YouTube, Ann Coulter called out Beyoncé for her salacious, female-demeaning lyrics as an ironic parallel to the accusations of Trump's equally recent gender blitz. Ann tweets, and this is true, not fake news. Ann tweets, Beyoncé, cited by Michelle Obama as role model for her daughters, sings about pussy curvilicious serve delicious. Oh my, I just fainted, end tweet. Anne was probably promenading victorious at this burn, this apparent demonstrated hypocrisy of the smug liberal elite. However, what Anne didn't realize during that cocksure strut in her proverbial pencil skirt was that the woman she perceived mouthing those lyrics was not Beyoncé at all, but Nicki Minaj. Supporters defended Anne's mistake by saying, they look so much alike. Black woman, Beyoncé. Black woman, Beyoncé. Black woman. When you don't collect much data, you don't have much in your motherfucking database. This tells me how we perceive one another. Educated guesses, inaccurate file names, projected images subservient to language. This tells me that if you were to see me clearly, you would have had to learn my language, or to learn a language beyond your own, beyond the language of myth, and beyond the language of billowing sails. This tells me that we all need to learn as much language as we can to quit running into things that are there that we can't see. This tells me that if we commit to this, you and I, all of us, maybe then we will finally escape the shadows of the cave. Thanks, you all.